taking a look at what's between the two. Whole lot of points. We're back to Sin City with the Sharps, our team lending their plays in the nightcap.
Thank you very much, Joe Musso. Always a pleasure to hear that. Nice voice. All right, let's get going. And by the way, if you had me not picking up the mic for one at minus 175, that just cashed.
Yeah, I don't know if that. We're going to have to go to an official review. I got a challenge flag because I'm sitting on a plus $1.55.
No, you lost that one. I it's the way it goes.
Sounds like an inside job.
I'm not. I've never been out in the field like I'm not used to it. So I knew I was going to at least once today forget to pick it up, and that's just the way it's going to be. Minus 150, minus 175, cashing on that one. Let's see what cashes in terms of side or total in Cincinnati. Look, they've been the cover kings, regular season and playoffs. No team in the last 2 years has covered more effectively and been a better bet than the Cincinnati Bengals. But they're not giving them away today. It's 8.5. What do you feel about Tyler Huntley? How healthy is he? We're not exactly sure. There's a lot of uncertainty here. Can we take advantage? Let's go to Zach. You're first. Side or total?
I'm going to go for a rare total here and take the under 40.5. We know how limited it's expected that the Baltimore Ravens offense is going to be, but I think the defense of the Ravens are going to keep them in this game. Joe Burrow, you look back at last year, he was phenomenal against the Ravens in the two regular season matchups, 417 passing yards, 525 passing yards in the other game, but this year he was held in check, just 215 passing yards and 217 last week. And then you look at in both games, the team settled for field goals, 5 field goals in both games. And I think when you look at anytime a team meets each other after they just played it to finish off the regular season, it doesn't bode well for points. We saw this about 10 years ago with the Green Bay Packers and Minnesota Vikings, and go way back to 1997. Drew Bledsoe and Dan Marino Miami Dolphins played to finish off the year, and then the first game of the wild card was a low-scoring game. I think history repeats itself. I'm on the under 40.5.
Look, it's been Bengals and under when they play in the playoffs. Last year, there's a bunch of 1916 type of games. They would just find a way to win them, right? And McPherson come on, knock a field goal. That's how they beat the Raiders, how they beat the Titans. Essentially shut down Patrick Mahomes in the second half in his barn, and that Super Bowl close as well. So I got one for the under. Todd Furman, what do you want to do here?
I'm going to go with the under as well, but it won't be the full game. I'm going to take a page out of EK's playbook and go first half under on this particular total. The main reason behind that is because I think Baltimore can stick to their game script early. If this game did happen to get a little squirrely, I don't want to be in a scenario where I'm rooting for nothing to happen with Tyler Huntley or Anthony Brown, the combination of the two throwing against this Bengals defense. When you look at the way Cincinnati has played, Lou Anarumo has been outstanding making adjustments, and I think they're going to have a few wrinkles in store for Baltimore in this particular spot, but this is a Ravens team that lacks big play potential through the air. I think they're going to be methodical early on, and when you look at this team defensively, to Zach's points, they've really stymied Joe Burrow this season, which is a far cry from what they did last year when they tried to blitz him early and often. Burrow threw for 400-plus yards in both those games. Felt like he had 37 touchdown passes that covered 50-plus yards in those spots. You dig into the expected points added, and these were Joe Burrow's 2 worst games against this Ravens defense. I know Bengals fans and their coaching staff, well, they were pretty vanilla in the second half last week against Baltimore, but I'm talking about the first half. Anthony Brown turned the ball over twice, created short fields for them. They get the defensive touchdown right before the half, and that 24 points had a lot of smoke and mirrors. I really believe this is defense first. Cincinnati's going to have to be methodical. They're going to have to dink and dunk their way down the field. 16, 18-play marches, hopefully they take 8 minutes, and end in field goals, and we're in a great spot. I'm going under the total at 20, but that would be my cutoff. It's such a key number here. If it got down to 19.5, guys, I'd want no part of it.
All right, so if it's been Bengals and under, that's an under and 2 different ways to play it. Kenny, you and I have 2 different ways to play the Bengals. I'll go first. I like the Bengals in the first quarter minus 2.5. I took San Francisco minus 3 in the first quarter yesterday. Thought they'd come out playing well. Didn't think Seattle would come out very aggressive. Maybe one shot deep. They actually took it in the second quarter and hit it. But I thought that they would try to shorten the game, and that collected. Same thing here. I don't see with Huntley Baltimore coming out and throwing the ball all over the place. I do see Cincinnati getting on the board. Unless we're 0-0, I feel like I'm going to win this thing. You know, maybe 3-3. Other than that, this seems to me like the way to play this game. Give me the Bengals at home in the first quarter. They're now playoff experience. All I got to basically be is ahead at 2.5. Because I'm not going to have 2-point conversions and all back and forth. It's essentially win the quarter. And I think I will. I'll go Bengals minus 2.5. What do you want to do?
Yeah, I'm Bengals. You mentioned it. We're both on the same side. Looking at these two rosters and putting them up head-to-head together, Cincinnati Bengals are a far better football team. They just played last week. The closing line was Cincinnati minus 12 in that game, 39.5 the total. And I bring you back to Sports Betting 101. We're at the mercy and talking to you 30 minutes or an hour, 3 hours before a football game. This one, we're 7 hours before kickoff. But the damage has been done to the betting line. This game opened 6.5 and 43.5. And at the point where Lamar Jackson doesn't practice on Monday and Tuesday, he's not going to play. It's time to bet the Bengals, and it's time to bet the under in those situations. I still feel comfortable laying 8.5 in this game with Cincinnati because, again, it's the playoffs. This is a different season. We do talk about we like underdogs, and both teams are 0-0 at this point. But these are two different rosters. This is a Bengal team that went to the Super Bowl last year. They know what it takes. They started the season slow because they have the Super Bowl hangover, but then the talent kicked in, and this team dominated by winning the division. I think they went on cruise control the last couple of weeks. They know what they have to do. Playoff time, I think they turn it on today.
All right, let's get to the props in this game. Todd, you first.
I'm going to go with J.K. Dobbins under 61.5 rushing yards. When you look at Baltimore, we know he's the key piece for everything that they want to do on the offensive side. So if you're the Cincinnati Bengals, you're devising a game plan. What are you going to do? You're going to take away Baltimore's top weapon in the backfield. And when you look at Dobbins over his last couple of games, he's had 59 or more in 4 of those contests. He broke through on the century mark twice. And while he's going to come in well rested and probably going to get the lion's share of the carries, I just don't think he's going to find any of those big runs that have been such a key part of all of his success over the last couple of weeks. You look at the Bengals' numbers against opposing running backs, and they've held 3 out of their last 4 opponents under 4 yards per carry. I think Dobbins falls into that bucket. Even if he carries it 15 to 17 times, I still don't think he gets into the mid-60s. I'll go Dobbins under 61.5 rushing yards.
All right, I'm going to play a rare over prop. I'm going to take Tyler Boyd over 33.5 receiving yards. Look, Kyle Hamilton will hit you. You'll feel it in your toes, and you'll feel it in your fingertips all at once, right? He will tackle you. The only problem is he's terrible in pass coverage, and they are terrible against slot receivers. And Tyler Boyd is a good slot receiver, and Tyler Boyd is going to be part of this pass game. His median, if we look at basically second half of the year, is 4 catches and 35 yards. He only has to be his average, and he's going to go over these. And I actually think he's going to do better than he usually does because they're bad in the slot. So I'm going to go over 33.5 yards, a rare over for me, Tyler Boyd. Zach?
Yeah, I'm going to take Hayden Hurst, the tight end for Cincinnati Bengals, over 31.5 yards. All the wide receiver weapons for the Bengals, you tend to forget about Hayden Hurst. He had match the season high 6 catches against the Baltimore Ravens in the first matchup this year, and we talked about it. I think they're going to be dinking and dunking a lot, just like we've seen from Joe Burrow this season. So those short routes, intermediate throws, there's going to be opportunities for Hurst to go over 31.5.
Kenny?
Yeah, I've got Tyler Huntley rushing yards over in this game. And going back, he played in a playoff game last year, 32 rushing yards in relief. He only threw 13 passes. He had 3 carries, 32 yards. And then I go back and look at 2021 where he had to fill in for Lamar Jackson quite a bit at the end of the year. Had 4 starts, 5 games where he played a lot of snaps, 40, 45, 73, 54, and 72 rushing yards. Tyler Huntley's going to leave the pocket today because that's going to be the best offense Baltimore actually has, is him running the football. His number's 32.5.
Especially second half, if they're behind, they'll scramble yards, garbage time, out the door, make it look good. Love that one as well. Love Joe Musso. Let's send it back to him.
Hey, love you too, pal. I also love a winner. We hope plenty of them are on the way for you as we take a look at where the wagers are rolling in via our friends at Caesars. 3/4 of the money on the Bengals, the favorites, laying a big number, but it's going to be Snoop Huntley on the other side trying to stay inside that 8.5 for the bird money.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.